Yo, what's going on, everybody? Hopefully, everybody's having a good day. Wow. Come on, man. Oh, not even that's working. Hello? Hmm. Wow. Weird. Hmm. Whatever. Anyway. Ooh. Part two. We're going to get this going. I've got some things lined up. We're going to check out some stuff about ancient civilizations as far as in America. In America. Why is that so loud? Uh, anyway, here we go. All right. So, part two of what we were talking about yesterday, kind of just going off of that. Um, let's see here. So, anyway, um, started looking at some more stuff. I know I talked about this before. Was the idea that there were ancient civilizations that were here in America, and some of these ancient cultures talk about these travelers who came across the ocean, yada yada yada. Um, One idea that was um, given credit was back in 1903 when Kincaid, one of the explorers, went to the Grand Canyon. Why does it always seem like every time we try and do shit, something always happens? Never had a problem with this fucking chair doing this show at all. And today it's just like screwed up. Totally. Anyway, so artifacts being found in a cave in Egypt, Egyptian artifacts found in a cave in the Grand Canyon. Kincaid went back and told Smithsonian, "Hey, look, I found some stuff here. I think you're going to want to take a look at this." Apparently, the site was closed off, and now there are restrictions where you can't even fly or go into or around any of these areas. at all. Now, why is that? Why is it that we cannot look at, investigate, or go to these places um, and see for ourselves why such mystery, why such security for something that, you know, if there's nothing to it, why hide it? That's the main. If there's nothing to it, why hide it? Yeah, I think I would like this too. So, why is it that the area of the Grand Canyon now there is some more evidence to show that the Egyptians actually made it to the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon actually holds Egyptian symbolism and artifacts. So let's take a look at it. Check it out. Hey, come on, internet. Come on. Let's do this. There we go. Nice. All right. Let's check it out.
Since its discovery some 500 years ago, the Grand Canyon in Arizona has been a sight that has stunned humanity with its majesty. Now, the major tourist destination is also an important site for archaeological research for what is assumed ancient American history. But what many people don't know is that hidden within the caves of this incredible landmark lies evidence of none other than the ancient Egyptians, who existed some 12,000 kilometers away. What makes this groundbreaking discovery even more important was that it was discovered over a century ago and hidden by the authorities. In today's Crunch, we're going to explore this profound discovery and why the government still keeps this secret under tight security.
Isn't that cool?
Evidence of an ancient Egyptian presence in the Grand Canyon was first brought to public attention in 1909 by explorer G.E. Cade and his archaeological expedition down the Colorado River. Now, his findings were reported on by local newspapers at the time, citing that he'd found a great underground citadel deep in a cave located in the canyon. The evidence of an ancient Egyptian civilization found within this hand-carved cave is seriously compelling and far-reaching. The most important find was that of a shrine with a figure sitting cross-legged holding a lotus flower or lily in each hand. Now, some consider this to be indisputable evidence of Egyptian presence, as the lotus flower is native to Egypt and is a highly important symbol of their culture. This shrine was not the only ancient artifact found that's believed to belong to ancient Egypt. Hieroglyphics have been discovered in several different cave systems throughout the area, in addition to mummies and distinctly Egyptian weapons and tools. Now, these findings are believed to prove Kincaid's theory as true, but some argue that it lacked empirical evidence. However, the mystery only seems to grow deeper as a report published by the Smithsonian details an expedition that traversed through the canyon in 1869 and discovered none other than a mighty pyramid.
John Powell's 1869 expedition into the Grand Canyon was intended to find archaeological findings relating to the Native Americans of the region. As the director of the Department of Ethnology at the Smithsonian, Powell was a respected member of the scientific community. Powell also worked for the Department of the Interior, which funded the expedition. He was to report all findings to the government first and foremost. This explains why what he found was covered up for over 100 years. Powell's believed to have found an ancient Egyptian pyramid similar to that found in the Valley of the Kings, 12,000 kilometers away. The location of this pyramid has been under incredibly tight security ever since, leading many to speculate that what he found would truly break our understanding of the ancient world.
The exact location of this supposed pyramid remains uncertain, as much of the area is heavily guarded by the US government. Many people have compared the site to that of Area 51. As anyone attempting to enter without permission is quickly arrested and then hurried away. This is in addition to a heavily monitored no-fly zone imposed above the entire area, keeping the exact findings of Powell's 1869 expedition hidden from the public.
Powell's cave, named after himself, is in this restricted area. Quoted from his book, Powell found many man-made caves, strikingly similar to those reported by Kincaid some 40 years later. He writes about finding intricately designed cave systems with walkways, benches, and other great rooms. Importantly, he also reports finding ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. Powell estimated that the number of caves and their complexity could have housed up to 50,000 ancient Egyptians. Upon his findings, he quickly sent word to the Smithsonian before informing the government of his findings. To be another interesting clue in the mystery of the canyon's history, as many speculate his reasoning for breaking his instructed protocol. Powell also discovered the same shrine reported by Kincaid, stating the same characteristics of a golden statue holding lotus flowers. This shrine is believed to be for the pharaoh Menkaure, who was crowned in the year 1337 BC. Now, alongside the shrine, Powell also found a tablet with hieroglyphics believed to be for teaching young Egyptians the complex writing system. They also located sarcophagi containing the mummified remains of the very people who transported this culture so far from home.
Powell's findings were all hastily taken to a Smithsonian storage building nearby, leading many people understandably to wonder why on earth the US government is taking the secrecy of this area so seriously. Could there possibly be more to this theory than we know? The secrecy of these findings and the area they're located in ensure the burning question remains: who built these elaborate tunnels and the artifacts, and where did they go?
From both Powell's and Kincaid reports, we can identify.
I'm pretty sure that if they did, in fact, find something that was in there and they reported it to the Smithsonian, I'm pretty sure those entrances are sealed up. There's no way for people to get into them. They're not going to just sit there and leave it open. They know how resilient people and people that want to get in are going to get in. So I'm pretty sure that they sealed it. They had to have. There's no way that they would have just left them open.
By these hand-carved cave systems to be approximately 3,000 years old. This is based on the tools used to carve out the ruins and the dating of the shrine found within them. Upon this evidence, we can conclude that this is not the work of Native Americans, and that it's more than likely to prove that the ancient world was much more advanced than we think. Unfortunately, the true details of this remarkable discovery remain largely undisclosed by government officials, leaving many questions unanswered, as we can only speculate on why the people who live in these expansive tunnel networks left.
Now, it is known that the Smithsonian Institute has acquired these findings. However, they absolutely refused to release any information on them. In tandem with the US government's heavy security on the topic and the area, well, we can only deduce that whatever the true findings of the area are, they would change everything.
Theories of the area remain. However, due to the secrecy and security surrounding it, we may never know what lies beneath these cave systems in the national park. We can only imagine that one day we'll unlock the true mystery as to why so much secrecy is needed for this remarkable archaeological site. Until then, all we have are theories and speculation. Many argue against the existence of the Egyptian ruins, but can't supply evidence as to why the area of the hidden city is off limits, as if the rumours were in fact false. What is the need to hide the truth? Whatever lies beneath the grounds of this restricted area, it is obvious that the government is not willing to share. We can only hope that one day we'll unlock the truth as to why so much secrecy surrounds this remarkable archaeological site.
Many secrets are kept that could profoundly change the way we view our world. The involvement of a prestigious scientific community only really ensures that the findings of the area truly are of significance.
Areas like Area 51 and other military installations have plausible deniability as to the necessity for the security, whereas the Grand Canyon, well, it doesn't offer this, as there have been no believable reasons for the amount of secrecy and security at the site of the lost city. The discovery of Egyptian artifacts within the depths of the Grand Canyon could potentially be the find of the century, if proven, as this discovery would change our understanding of the known world entirely. The reports made by the two respected explorers demand questions that have never been fully answered. But one thing is for certain, there are still wonders hidden beneath the canyon walls waiting to be uncovered, and only time will tell what other mysteries lie within this mysterious ancient world.
So that's all we have time for today on Crunch. The question is, did you enjoy the video? If you did, and I hope you did, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more just like this. Until next time, stay curious.
And that's pretty awesome. I mean, if you think about it, on everything else that we know of, that the Africans made it here before Columbus, you have European countries, um, and for us to say that Egyptians didn't make it here, I find that very hard to believe. So, what is your guys' thoughts on it? What do you guys think? There's obviously a lot of evidence to support the fact that they are or were here. Um, could these be, in fact, the African tribes that were working with them that made it here, that transported the people here? Um, some royalty, some form of hierarchy of Egyptian dynasty that was here in the Americas. If they were here, they obviously ruled for a while, um, considering that the Grand Canyon is not the only place where you find Egyptian artifacts. We know here in Pyramid Lake, the reason why it's named Pyramid Lake is because there's a pyramid supposedly that sits in the lake. See if I could find a picture of it. There were actually bones of 10 to 12,000-year-old remains that were found in the lake. me see if I can get this picture up. So yeah, this is one of them. As you can see, this being the picture right here, why they called it Pyramid Lake. Digga, digga. Come on now. Here we go. So this is Pyramid Lake. This is the reason why it's called Pyramid Lake, because of this formation. But in and around the archaeological finds that were found around Pyramid Lake um, were pretty old. Um, I mean, 10 to 12,000 years ago. That's stretching pretty far back. So who were these people? Um, a lot of the tradition around surrounding this area, because we know for one that we have red-haired giants that were in and around this area. We know that there are cave systems that are in and around this area that lead into the earth. We know that there were Egyptian mummies and artifacts found in and around this area, because they did find an old mummy in Utah. I know when my daughter, when we were up in Utah at the children's unit, they had made a discovery on a site where they were doing excavations for construction, and found Egyptian mummies there that were over 12,000 years old. And I mean, this is just too much of a coincidence to just ignore the facts of what we're seeing here. Um, a lot of this hinges on the fact that we're being lied to about what's going on in our history. What's who was here, um, who was in and around this area, where they came from, obviously, um, and the significance of these discoveries and this information is vast. This would totally change our historical narrative that we know of, because it would lend credit to these other countries having been here and having lived here in the Americas, longer than European, Anglo-Saxon white people that were, you know, well, we discovered this place. Was this continent already flourishing with vast cultural differences as a continent, and was it just conquered by Europeans? Meaning that there were already civilizations that were living here that were just being conquered and taken over, which is why you see the networking of slave trade, because there was already people here, there was already Africans here, there was already people from different cultures that were living here. They just enslaved them. And like I said, this is just my thought. Um, right now, I just, like I said, what are your guys' thoughts? What do you guys think? What are your ideas on this? as I said before, I'm just throwing this out there. This is for you guys to talk to me, like, give me some convo here. Um, one of the crazy things that a lot of people do not realize is that this is something that has been going on for a while now. This isn't nothing new. These are things just like I had posted in, one of the episodes on the podcast was is that if the government and other countries were able to lie to us and hide the existence of an entire civilization, an empire, and I'm talking about ancient Tartaria, from the history books. I didn't know about this stuff growing up. I didn't learn about this stuff um, in school. It wasn't until I started seeing things like people were questioning, like, "Wow, where are these, these beautiful architectural buildings that were just wiped out? And look at all this art, and look at how sophisticated these uh, these statues, these buildings, the artwork that was around, the technology that was floating around in the early 1900s to late 1800s and on. It just seems to have just disappeared. It doesn't make any sense, but you start digging into it and you start finding, yes, these ancient civilizations were around. This technology was, in fact, around. So, wouldn't it make sense that if this stuff could be covered up, that our history could be a lie and could be twisted and contorted to fit the narrative that these people who are in control want you to believe? I mean, it's not far stretching to believe that that is possible, you know? I mean, if these people were able to do this with something like that, who's to say what else we know is a lie? I mean, we've got drawings, for Christ's sake, on rocks and paintings, um, depicted on different forms of canvases showing creatures that should not be living with human beings, dinosaurs. We've got old ancient pictures of people that were being terrorized by these giant winged creatures, which we now know to be like a pterodactyl, with them holding these pictures, holding this creature that they had shot back in the old Western times. I forgot what the hell they called it. It was what, a thunderbird, some shit like that, I guess. Um, that's what they're saying that it was called, and we know that this is true because, like I said, there's pictures of these these creatures with human beings. I mean, a lot of times people are saying that, it is hold on. It's too far-fetched to believe. It's I hate using that word again, a a conspiracy to believe that this is, oh, well, it's nothing more than, something made up for the gain of people's publicity. It's a stunt. Um, but I mean, the evidence is out there. The evidence is there it supports the fact that we are seeing this stuff. Now, going on to that, I was on Facebook and I was talking to somebody that was on there that was talking about ancient civilizations. And I was like, wow, we look at a lot of things that have been uncovered um, in, in our history. One being, ancient sites that were discovered around the world. And you see, uh, let me look it up really quick. LiDAR. Um, LiDAR, these archaeologists that are using LiDAR to detect these giant cities that have not even been discovered in the rainforest yet, and in the Amazon, excuse me. This is something that people need to understand is that we have not fully even uncovered what is being hidden in the world today. And let me share this with you. You guys can check it out, and I'll put the address of it inside of the comments section. Okay, so it says LiDAR reveals lost cities in the Amazon. A LiDAR map of the city of Cunjin, whatever, in the Ecuadorian Amazon reveals ancient streets lined with houses. Located in Ecuador's Upano Valley, the structures lie in the eastern foothills of the Andes Mountains, according to the study published in the journal Science. After more than 20 years of research, the ancient urban centers were only discovered when the Ecuadorian government employed LiDAR technology. I have explored the site many times, but LiDAR gave me another view of the land, said archaeologist Stéphane Rostand, the author of the study and director of research in the French National Center of Scientific Research. A team of researchers from France, Germany, Ecuador, and Puerto Rico conducted a LiDAR survey that covered roughly 300 kilometers times 2. The survey revealed a landscape full of organized human cities, activities, including more than 3,000 rectangular earth platforms, as well as agricultural terraces and drainage systems. So that is what I mean is like we're finding these cities that are just hidden um, underneath all of this jungle forage in the Amazon. Oops. There is even cities, okay, that have hot spots. These cities are glowing red. A new LiDAR-powered analysis of land in the Amazon rain basin has provided evidence of a previously unknown urban center of mind-blowing complexity. To be clear, that doesn't mean ancient aliens or long-lost technology, just that it far exceeds the expected levels of organization and population that scholars had considered possible for the Amazonians of 1,500 years ago. Nobody expected this type of city to be around. Let's check it out. So here you have what it looks like versus what the LiDAR is showing you. Pretty cool stuff, right? You would have never thought that anything would have lived there or anything that was even there. Um, Here is some pictures. I don't know if anybody's seen this off a city off the coast of Cuba. This has been around for a while now. Yeah. Let me see if I can get a better image because this one's kind of crappy. Underwater. Uh, Now, from what I remember reading, these structures that we're seeing off of the coast of Cuba are pretty significant. Come on, folks. Let me see here. Why the fuck are all these pictures really crappy now? Like, I'm trying to get one because there were some that were just so beautiful and, like, very, very vivid. And now you try and look them up and it's like it looks like some kid drew it. No. I don't think it's the thing of how they were. You've got the, Yanaguni Monument in Japan. If anybody doesn't know what that is, check that out. That's pretty crazy. That's really huge. Come on, man. I guess that's about as good as it's gonna get. Alright, so the civilization or the city that was found off of Cuba, this is what it looks like. That's where it's located, right there. So here you have a civilization that was building structures that we see all over the globe, different continents, that is sunken right off of the coast of Cuba. Now, as with everything, we question this stuff. Who was the civilization that lived here? Obviously, they were pretty advanced because they're building structures like this that seem to have vast networks of roads, terrace ways, and other buildings around it. This is not small. This is massive. And these buildings are not small either. They're pretty huge. We are barely touching the tip of what we know of civilizations on this earth. If anybody knows me and anybody knows the podcast or has seen the podcast, you know this. Question everything. Everything that we believe to be true is a lie. There is always something deeper and more profound hidden that we have not been told, that we have not been taught, or a narrative that has been spun to make us believe something that is a lie, to think that, oh, these grand, things couldn't have happened, or, folklore and fairy tales are not true. Magic isn't real. Sorcery isn't real. It's just something that's a figment of people's imagination. We have to start thinking outside of the box and realizing that there's things that are going on that we do not understand because we have become so far distant from what we used to be on that vibrational plane of living that type of life and becoming distant from it. So over the centuries, it becomes folklore, it becomes a lie, it becomes a myth, it just becomes stories that people used to tell each other, yada yada. Which is why it is so pertinent that we do not discredit these people who are making these claims or making these archaeological findings and hiding it away and just assuming that it's nothing more than just, oh, well, it was just some, Cuban, you know, living city that, was just a trading port. Nothing more, nothing to see here. When in fact, these sites should not be around based on what we've been told that civilizations were around in those times. So if we're finding these cities and these civilizations underwater in Antarctica, under the ice, I'm trying to find, here it is. Excuse me. All right. So this theory that here's the structure. So wait for it to load these pictures. Check it out. So here you have a picture of what looks like structural walls and formations in Antarctica, which is claiming by, and obviously they have to put the word in there. They had to put it in there. They couldn't contain themselves. Conspiracy theorists. And it's like, come on, man. Why does it they have to throw that in there because they want to discredit anything that you come up with. Is this just a naturally formed rock formation? Obviously not. So now when people start coming up with, okay, well, there had to be civilizations that were living here. Let's check out these pictures here that they've got because there's 6 of them, I think. The post says scientists initially thought the discovery could be a sustragy, a natural phenomena formed by years of battering strong freezing winds and heavy snowfall. Pictured our sustragy in a radar image around the south edge of Losivosca in Antarctica. Not even the same. Not even the same. Compared to this? No, I don't think so. Next. Also, there are pyramids that have been found. It's not claimed that John Kerry visited Antarctica. He did go down there. There has been a number of presidents that have gone down there, and this is documented. That scientists have told them they needed to. Why would you go down there? Why the fuck would Senator John Kerry need to go down there? Is he being a diplomatic ambassador to fucking the scientists down there? There it is, right there from the top view. And there are other videos showing the pyramids. There's 3 of them, just like it is in Egypt. Massive. Oh, they think it's just a natural because of the winds, you know. And it's like, come on, man, get for reals. I think a lot of the times we are starting to see that um, the population of people who are intrigued by this stuff um, vastly want to know what the hell is going on. Like, just give us the information, man. What else are they hiding? What else is going on that we don't know about? As far as ancient societies and the history of the world itself, of cultures that have been here long before what we were told um, we were here. Because we know the ancient Sumerians talk about um, the beginning of the civilizations that were created here, but there were actually people or hominids that were living here long before the Homo sapiens sapiens were being created by the sky gods. And I jumped into that yesterday when I did that part when I was talking about the beginning of, in the Bible where it talks about, now I'm using the Bible as a reference because a lot of people say, well, that was the beginning of humanity. It wasn't the fucking beginning of humanity, okay? It was just the beginning of what was created of people. And that story was adapted from the ancient Sumerians that had thousands of years on it. Christians just adapt. The Bible it was just thrown into the Bible and adapted by them because it was passed down orally throughout the history. So yes, they adapted that story because that was a part of their history from their cultures. All right. Know your stuff, folks. Like just don't go off of what you're being shoveled down your throat. Do your research in your history. And as I said, I started questioning it because I was always asking my mom, well, if Cain got kicked out for killing his brother and he was marked by God, okay, and he was cast out away from his family and he was told to just go survive on his own, and he ended up finding the land of Nod and marrying a wife and becoming a part of the family there. So this tells me that there were other civilizations that were on the earth, roaming around in the area, that were well advanced, were obviously connected to other cultures because they couldn't have just been by themselves. Who were these civilizations? Who were they? We are starting to find those answers in archaeological finds all over the world, Göbekli Tepe being one of them. An enigmatic structure. Let me see if I can find it. This structure, okay, um, let me just read you what's being said about it. It's Turkish. It's in Turkey. The settlement was inhabited from 9500 to at least 8000 BCE during the pre-pottery Neolithic. It is famous for its large circular structure that contains massive stone pillars among the world's oldest known megaliths. Many of these pillars are decorated with anthropomorphic details, clothing, and sculptural reliefs of wild animals, providing archaeologists rare insights into prehistoric religion and other particular iconography iconography of the period. The 50-foot high, 20-acre tell is densely covered with ancient domestic structures and other small buildings, quarries, and stone-cut cisterns from the Neolithic, as well as some traces of activity from later periods. Current excavators interpret Göbekli Tepe as a settlement based on recent findings such as domestic structures and features, water supply installations, Neolithic tools associated with domestic use. The site's original excavator, Klaus Schmidt, had subscribed to it as a structure used by groups of nomadic hunter-gatherers. There's no fucking way these hunter-gatherers, okay, built this thing. I'm sorry. That's not going to happen. You can't tell me that these hunter-gatherers built this elaborate beautiful, beautiful. I love these pictures. These are great. See if I could get this on here. So this is a picture of this site from ground view. Okay. Now, 50 feet high, these structures are. Over to the right here, you see what they call them T structures. Massive pillars. And on this pillar, you can see what looks like, I don't know, a Tasmanian tiger or something on the side of this pillar. But there's there's more T post pillars in the back. There's some more that they haven't uncovered yet. There's another. Here's another. But this site yields so much because when you look at the engravings that are on these pillars, you find them in other cultures around the world. And I thought that was kind of interesting because I was reading the book. They Came Before Columbus. All right. And if you haven't looked at this and you haven't read it, when it gets into the artifacts that were found in America, South America, from these African tribes who were coming here, you find some of these engravings at Göbekli Tepe, which is really weird because it makes sense that if these cultures were there and they were already traveling the continent, wouldn't it make sense that they were building these massive mounds around the world? Here's a beautiful shot of it from above. That is amazing. And from what I remember seeing when I was watching, uh, I believe what was it called? Ancient Apocalypse on Netflix, and Graham Hancock, another brilliant mind, open-minded guy trying to share this information of these cultures that are around the world and that are timelines of, uh, cultures that we have far exceeds what we know, and it's a lot older than what we've been told. It's just the mainstream science and academic groups don't wanna hear it because, well, what you're telling me that I've been talking about for so long and researching is wrong. So what? So what? These people do not wanna be told that they were wrong in what they were teaching or wrong in their findings. Their pride has set them up for such failure. They refuse for people like Graham Hancock who are putting out this narrative or this hypothesis that, hey, we need to start looking a lot further back at the dates that we have, farther than the dates that we have of these societies and these cultures that are living around the world that we're living. I mean, look at how amazing this is to think, okay, that these cultures built this. I mean, these are tons, tons. God, it's so it just I'm so fascinated by this because it's so amazing to think that our history it we need to rethink it. God, it's just so beautiful. Look at that. Could you imagine what it must have looked like? And the thing of it is that they were saying that it was intentionally covered up. They intentionally covered it, filled the whole thing in, tore whatever was covering it over, tore it down. It all just got covered in. They intentionally put sediment and filled in this site. Now, the theory behind this, okay, they're saying that they knew that a catastrophe was coming and they needed to preserve the history. They wanted to preserve it, so they covered it. Now, if ancient culture or society or a group of people was smart enough to say that, hey, we're probably going to get fucking wiped out here. We want our future generations to know who we are and where we came from and what we were about. We need to cover this because it's going to protect it. That's what the theory is here, is that these people knew something was coming because this is around that time of the great catastrophe, of the great flood, that these civilizations knew it was coming and decided to cover it up. Here are some of the pylons that were taken out, and I guess they're Sinluf Sinleflorfa Museum. And there's what they're saying it is a fox. I've never seen a fox that huge, but ducks and a boar. Has anybody else seen this? Does this look familiar to you? That's not a predator. That's a jaguar or a tiger. Where else have we seen those? In Peru, South America, maybe? Looks oddly familiar, right? And that's why, to me, it just makes sense that the same cultures that were building this stuff long ago, during the time of the flood, left where they were, dispersed, went out into the world, got on their ships, sailed, went to other continents, finally settled down, and started thriving and building these other places. Wouldn't that make sense? Because we're seeing the same similarities that we're finding in other civilizations, just a little bit later on down the road. What does that look like? The handbag, ancient Samaria, the depictions of the handbags that the gods are carrying. The boar. Here you have um, well, what you would call like a totem pole or an effigy, a totem effigy. And this is why I said that some of these are very reminiscent and depictive of what we would see or what was being found not only in Africa by the tribes who went to North America and had the same effigy and carvings. Now, you see right here at the bottom, I guess it's going to give me a high def picture of what I just clicked on. All right, and you have this image of this person at the bottom with pottery. You could clearly see his hands on what looks like his pottery, or maybe he's just like, I can't go back out. This is crazy. There it goes. Um, he's holding pottery or something, but you see the same type of effigy that was found in South America with the phallus statues. Here, not the same, but they're almost alike in nature, that it's doing exactly what he's doing inside of this picture on this totem. But you're finding this stuff all over the place. So are these people the same people who built this? Different time periods, different areas, but because of this catastrophic event, um, dispersed themselves all over the globe. Looks like a wild dog or something. Here's a lot of the statues that they took and put in the museum. Here is Klaus Schmidt, who was the discoverer of Göbekli Tepe, the site. Now, this is what the site looks like today. Um, if you were to go and visit it, they've gotten so much, praise and donations that they were able to build a structure over the site to preserve it for future generations. And they're actually talking about building around the site. And I think there's stuff where they actually found other sites near Göbekli Tepe. Here is a map view. Trying to click on it because it's apparently there's more than one. Okay, guess not. So these are known sites. Come on, why can't I see it? So it's saying that these are other sites that are around Göbekli Tepe that have T-pillar sites. Um, just astonishing to think that people's minds are so closed that, "Oh, well, if it wasn't for the Europeans and the Anglo-Saxons, that nothing ever would have been," these colored, you know, um, tribes and these cultures around the world were stupid and they were just, they weren't really anything. We are not getting or giving the credit to these cultures, um, that are around the world for the things that they have done or did do as far as being master builders, master seafarers, and master scholars and master astronomers. They are not getting the credit um, that is due them. And it's really sad to sit here and say, well, if it wasn't, the only progression that we had was during this time to this time. That technology didn't exist back then. They weren't smart enough to build this stuff. They weren't smart enough to freaking figure out electricity or power. We know that that's a lie because we see in carvings in Egypt, um, these carvings that we're seeing. Hmm, that was taken off. How funny. They're called the Dendera light bulbs. See if we can share this with you guys real quick. Now, a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, it was just their depiction of something." They've already gone through and rebuilt this thing by what it looks like. And here you have the coils going through it with the power source going down into the source itself, like two giant light bulbs. I don't know. It's just weird to think that, we only think of ancient pictures. Here it is. This is the come on. Here we go. So we have this, what looks like they're trying to recreate what they're believing that it could be versus what they were seeing in the hieroglyphs. I mean, are we misinterpreting this stuff wrong? Is this something that we're not looking deeper into? Should we be looking into this stuff? Maybe there are more to the fact of what we're seeing than what we're actually detailing um, in the scientific and the archaeological community. But to think that this stuff was just set to a certain period of time, that it was just Europeans or other countries during a time that were just advancing faster, and they were just, hunter gatherers that were just, farming and making things with, stone tools. The contrary has already been proven that these people were way more advanced than what we're giving them credit for. And having said that, I think that if we look deeper or we do our due diligence and research to find out um, what was really going on, because the evidence is just vast, way vast. Um, and it seems like it's just being discredited by, um, you know, mainstream media, mainstream uh, academic communities within these tight knit circles. And as they said before, the Smithsonian really has something to do with hiding that evidence from everybody, um, and from the mainstream, because they don't want these narratives to get out. They don't want these narratives to become mainstream or to have value or credit to them, because if it does, then it throws their whole synopsis of, well, human beings came from apes or fish turned into people walking on the earth. Bullshit. Because it would lend credibility to what was being told to us from the ancients, that these people, these sky gods, came down, created human beings because they needed workers. Yes, there were other beings that were here on this planet, hominids, bipedal creatures that they spliced DNA with, ended up making human beings, trying to get it right, get it correct. They were tampering with things that they had no business tampering with. They were trying to get it right, which is probably why you get these creatures that were half horse, half animal looking creatures with, the heads, the upper torso of a human, or lower torso of a human with, the head of a jackal. And then you get the story of the flood that came through and just tried to wipe all these things out, because it was like, okay, well, we screwing around with this stuff for too long. Now it's starting to become a problem. We need to just wipe them out. And the adaptation that you see is what you get in the Genesis scriptures of the Bible, which was just adapted from ancient texts. Now, a lot of people get upset when you start getting into that, because you start telling, oh, well, what are you saying? The Bible's a lie. I'm not saying it's a lie. I'm just saying that the text that is in there are things that were written and adapted from older texts. So therefore, it's not a lie. It was just adapted from something else. Now, you got to remember, these stories or these tales of life or things that happen were passed down through tribes, through cultures. And we know that Abraham was a part of that culture. He married his wife Sarah. She wasn't in his Israelite, as you would call them. She was from a nomadic family. Could her bloodline have been one of these bloodlines that were from these ancient people that had lived here before? Because we know that King Nimrod was from Cain's bloodline, who built the Tower of Babel, right? Nimrod was an ancestor of Adam. They believe that, Saddam Hussein believed that his bloodline was that of that bloodline. He was the rightful ruler of Babylon. He believed that his bloodline led back to that generation. And the Temple of Eridu that he, the ziggurat, that big building that he, historically uncovered and had them freaking excavate. See, a lot of people don't think that the reason why we went and started the war with Iraq was because of weapons of mass destruction. We all know that was bullshit. We all know that was a lie. We all know that had nothing to do with why we went into Iraq until later on. We all swallowed that whole story. But now we come to find out through these whistleblower sources, the reasoning that we went into Iraq was because of all of this stuff that they were finding out that he had his hands on. Why? Because that place was the cradle of the civilization at that time. So why not? They tried to sit there and plead with him. Let us work with you on this stuff. He told them, fuck no. He felt that outside our hands on it, they were just going to exploit what they were going to get their hands on. He didn't want that because he felt prideful. This is our people's heritage. This is our people's livelihood. This is who we are. This is where we come from. Why am I going to let you sit here and put your hands on it and distort it for whatever narrative or whatever profit or gain that you want? That's not what he wanted to do. And therefore, you come to find out that we ended up saying, okay, well, if you're not going to give us what we want, we're just get rid of you and just take over the whole country. And a lot of whistleblowers come forward and say, yeah, we went in there because they had found stargates there. They found portals there. They found ancient technology that he had his hands on in a lot of the museums, deep in the museums that they were holding this ancient technology. Then you see firsthand that ISIS was going around and damaging and destroying these ancient cities or sites, or just defacing everything. Why? Oh, well, because it's blasphemous, and we want bullshit. It's kind of like the fucking Trump story now of, Iran had something to do with with President Trump's assassination. Come on, man. Come on. If you're ignorant enough to believe that crap, more power to you, go for it. But that just doesn't sit right with a lot of people who are like, this isn't adding up. If you're wanting to hide the history, destroy it. Because then people can't go in there and they can't question it, because whatever you have control of, and they can't get their hands on it. If there's anything in the outskirts, like they were having these militia groups or these rebel groups going in there and destroying this stuff, now you can't have other countries come in there and get their hands on it. It's kind of like saying, okay, well, we're going to secure this area. All right. We've only got a certain amount of time. We've only got a certain amount of people that can do it. We got to keep it quiet. We got to keep it freaking under wraps. Go in there, get what you can get your hands on, get it out of there. get it secured, get it back here. We're going to send in little teams to go around and destroy this other archaeological stuff that we cannot contain and destroy it. So if they get little pieces and fragments of it, then they can get pieces and fragments of it. They won't get the whole thing. You see, it's the same thing throughout history, just like ancient Tartaria. Hide it. How did they hide that? World War I, World War II. See the bombing and the destruction of all these cities in London, in Europe, in Russia. Mass floods that occurred over these structures, that when they've done a lot of this excavation, like in Florida, 40,000-year-old city, 40,000 years old. They found in Florida, when they were doing an excavation on a road, they found an ancient city in Florida, folks. Now, these were supposed to be just Native Americans, right? Lies. They found these ancient cities and these structures, and they're all over the place. Not only are they finding it just on the coast areas, they're finding them deep within America. One of the things I was talking to somebody when I went back home to go visit my dad for 4th of July, as I get into it with my family members and I talk to them deeply about it, is that there was a show called America on Earth, and the show itself was supposed to uncover artifacts or things that were hidden from a mainstream media or the view of mainstream America, of ancient and archaeological finds that significantly blew the lid off of the narrative that there were other civilizations that were living here long before Columbus. Now look at this, because this just popped in my head. If you have indigenous people who talk to you or tell stories of, or who have evidence of these cultures or these people that were living here, these advanced structures, wouldn't you want to wipe them out? It's kind of eerie because you see this happening throughout everything. Even back to the Temple of Alexandria, largest known library in history that contained a lot of world cultural history. The city burned to the ground, the biggest library ever. Where did all that stuff go? And it just seems to trickle through, like it just becomes more and more and more. What if these catastrophic events, these wars, and a lot of this disinformation is to hide this historical evidence from us of who we are, where we come from, who was here, what they knew, and the advancements and the technology and the way of them being able to survive without any fossil fuels, without any need to get rich. Maybe that is just a way for us to be held in captivity by these industrial globalists, this complex, these people working at this higher level to keep us in slavery, of relying on them when these ancient cultures had this advancement of living freely with this technology. Because obviously they were way more advanced than us. Just a thought. Like I said, the evidence is there to support it, but it just seems like, we see this eroding and this, depleting of these cultures and this information to be wiped out way you keep it hidden, you wipe these people out. Cover it up. Keep the information hidden. And if you control it, nobody else can see it. Then they can't really, I mean, now you've just got what you term conspiracy theorists. You can discredit everybody, because as long as you hold the key to that door and they're talking about what might be on the other side of that door through evidence that's found and, things that they've uncovered, you hold the key to that door, you can say, yeah, well, show me your proof. Show me the evidence. So until we get that key to that door, to that evidence, to everything that we are talking about, not just here on this podcast, but just in general with other people who are trying to figure this out. Share the information, do your research, check it out for yourself. And just remember, don't take the narrative of looking at things and being like, okay, well, this is just all it is. There's more to what we are. There's more to what or who we are. And I really wish that a lot of people would, realize is that this is a part of who we are. This is a part of our essence of us being human beings. There's more to us. Who we are and what we are and what we are capable of doing because of our ancient ancestors, are the people who were here thousands and thousands and thousands of millions of years before us. And once we start digging into that and we find the answers to it, the more powerful we will become individually and collectively as a whole. Because I truly believe that the road that we are heading on is not the path that we were supposed to be taking. We're just heading on a road of self-destruction. Can this planet sustain everybody here? Yes. Are we able to sustain everyone on this planet with natural resources? Yes. Can we harness energy and power that we don't need to deplete this Earth of its ozone layer or destroy this planet? Yes, because ancient cultures have already proved that. There are always going to be good and bads, pros and cons to the advancement of technologies. And I think that ancient cultures have already proven that, because you see the advancement that they were taking and the steps and the leaps and bounds that they were progressing their cultures with these technological advancements that they were given to, or the knowledge that they were given by these, sky gods or these beings or these people that came and told them about this technological advancements. And then all of a sudden you see it just wiped out. I really hope that somebody who works up in wherever they deal with this stuff can understand and say, hey, we need to use this for the betterment of humanity. Make a turn, make a change in humanity to progress us where we need to go, not just spiritually, but physically, for the betterment of this planet. Because there is no fucking reason why people should be starving on this planet. And you see the actions that are going on in Africa with the president there combining the three countries, Sierra Leone, they are just kicking all these European, kicking them out and telling them, hey, we've had enough of your crap exploiting our country and turning us into a poor nation when we're one of the richest nations in the world. Why can't we use these resources to betterment our people, to progress our people? instead of making us poor, we're going to make ourselves rich because we're going to turn these resources for our communities, for our future generations. And that to me is a turning point, I believe, in what we are going to see happening around the world for these communities, these countries that are being suppressed by these colonial groups, countries that are just, ripping them apart and tearing them to shreds and just uh, exploiting them for their resources for the betterment of themselves and just telling them, oh, yeah, 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 well, you don't need this. We'll pay you really good money. Well, a lot of these countries are saying, like Saddam Hussein said, we're not going to do it. We're tired of you guys exploiting our cultures. We're tired of you guys exploiting us and using us just to get what you want. So it's going to be really cool to see some new things that are going to come out. Um, and like I said, I mean, the things that we are finding just here in our home uh, continent in the U.S. is just fascinating to me. Time to get new headphones. It's just fascinating to see because the cultural richness and of history is going to be amazing to see what comes out of it. And I really hope that there comes a time when something pops off and it's like undeniable proof that you cannot refute it. That's like, okay, well, try and quiet this up. So yeah, I think it's really cool that we question everything and we look at everything and we try and figure everything out because there is nothing that is swaying me from my thought process and sharing a lot of this stuff with people. I mean, if you were to sit here and show me evidence that okay, there was no life or there was no civilizations past the time from what we're seeing, okay, whatever. But you can't because the evidence is too. Appreciate everybody coming along and following the podcast here on YouTube and on Facebook. If you guys haven't yet, and you are a follower on Facebook, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, um, and show your support, show your love, and share it with your friends and family, and get the word out there because a lot of times people want to, like I said yesterday, a lot of times people don't get a chance to sit around and talk about this stuff, or there's stuff that they talk about and they can't with other people. So use this platform um, for our discussions. If you want to chime in, then let's chime in and feel free to share with me your thoughts of what you think on the subject matter that we're talking about. And I appreciate you guys for joining and coming along with me on this journey. Thank you so much. Thank you for helping to get the word out. And we're just going to keep trying to progress this thing and keep trying to make it blow up. And I appreciate you. Thank you guys so much. And I will see you guys later. Let me know, chime in the comments and let me know what other content you'd like to talk about or what you would like to see discussed, or if you want to come on and talk about something, please feel free to, just share it with me, hit me up and let me know what your thoughts are. Once again, thank you again. My name is Raul and this is Seeker of the Unknown. Appreciate you.